While entries in Namco's Tales series are quite abundant at times, it's been nearly 4 years since 2008's Tales of Vesperia brought the franchise to HD consoles. The wait is over with Tales of Grace's F, an HD remake of the Japan-only Wii game. Does the F stand for fantastic, or merely forgettable?
So, are you friends?
Grace's spends considerable time building its characters and world with a central conflict that doesn't manifest until halfway through the game. You begin in childhood as the unruly Asbel Lant discovers a strange girl with no memory and soon brings a visiting prince into his circle of friends. The young companions are torn apart by tragedy, but 7 years later, political unrest gradually brings them back together. However, the amnesiac named Sophie hasn't aged a day, and the once peaceful Prince Richard has become a mad king bent on absorbing power from crystals that sustain the world.
What are you trying to do now?
Grace's opening hours are easily the worst. Asbel's father is meant to be stern but comes across as unreasonable, bordering on abusive, while the 11-year-old son predictably rebels against every command. Once everyone grows up, things become more bearable, but players will likely figure out much of the mystery surrounding Sophie and Richard long before the cast gets a clue. The party talks about nearly everything along the way, and with these exchanges consuming the majority of your time, the personalities tend to grow on you, even if they aren't the most interesting characters to begin with.
Ah, young love, ain't it wonderful? I've traveled back in time from next week. Please stop throwing monsters at us.
Exploration in Tales of Graces is dictated tightly by the story. There's no overworld, and the field areas consist of restrictive pathways, which makes the world feel so small that it's hard to fathom why Asbel hasn't gone home for 7 years. You're often kept in place by invisible walls accompanied by text bubbles telling you not to go that way, and there's a lot of backtracking before you're thrust out into new regions. Even when you get a shuttle at the tail end of the game, you're limited to selecting locations from the map. But thankfully, there are a few corners left to find at the end. Side quests are almost entirely limited to fetching items. A few entail brief stories like collecting plush toys for a sick child, but most simply take the form of checklists on an in-bulletin board. These requests amount to trading an inventory item for a reward, and it can be frustrating when the item in question is something you've recently sold, as there's no buyback option with merchants. A card-based memory game and a series of block puzzles provide brief diversions, but there's little of significance outside the main story arc. If the lack of freedom doesn't deter you, the game lasts a solid 45 to 50 hours, and there are some extras beyond completion, including a new Game Plus option and an epilogue that takes place 6 months later. Plus, fans of the combat system can engage in Trials of Graces, which lets you take on a variety of ranked arenas with various rewards.
We must always give it our best.
Saria, Hubert, look out!
The battle system in Graces isn't a huge departure from past games. Combat takes place in real time, with skills consisting of basic attacks known as A arts, which chain together in successive progression, and B arts, which are essentially spells and elemental techniques that you can assign to inputs as you see fit. Plus, pulling off certain feats in battle adds to your stamina, allowing you to continue your barrage.
Prepare yourself! Dance like the damned! Instant balls!
While you only maintain direct control of one character at a time, you can switch between party members or connect extra controllers to have friends join the fray. You can also create battle strategies for each character's AI, making them quite capable of holding their own and keeping you in good health. With 4 characters and numerous enemies shouting and setting off special effects, combat can definitely get a bit chaotic, and there's a sense of button mashing at times. The biggest issue, however, is that the difficulty starts off so low that it can take a while to get a real grasp on the battle system. When battles are over in a matter of 10 seconds or less, you don't get much chance to experiment.
That was impressive, Asbel.
One of the more interesting aspects of the Tales series is the focus on equipable titles. Gaining experience and leveling up is hardly noticeable. Instead, your character is defined by equipping and investing in various titles that boost resistances, strengthen skills, and grant you new techniques. Some titles are tied to story progression, while others reflect your actions in battle, but there are dozens of titles per character. Likewise, the simple crafting system with its smart, informative UI will keep you busy creating new materials and recipes, as well as cyclically forging stronger weapons and gems.
Everyone thinks we should leave through the butt. Let's search for the butt, Sharia. It's the only way.
There's no mistaking that Tales of Graces was originally released on the Wii, and it seems that little effort was made to bring it up to PS3 standards. While static shots of the lead characters look good at times, the lighting and textures are flat, animation is stiff, and the lip syncing is pretty much a joke.
What are you doing here? It's dangerous. Stay back!
Even taking into consideration the technical origins doesn't excuse the weakness of the presentation. Some dungeons are designed in such a cut-and-paste manner that you can get disoriented navigating their identical hallways, and certain scenes conveniently fade to black, suggesting that someone couldn't be bothered to animate that particular moment.
I don't remember much, but still, I'm glad.
The audio doesn't fare much better. The dry voice acting of most of the cast makes the over-exuberant Pascal a welcome addition to the team, and there's no Japanese voice track for those concerned. Meanwhile, the music is mostly forgettable with a few decent songs, counterbalanced by some criminally short loops.
I will destroy you!
Sophie.
With battles that are over in a flash and a world that imposes hard limits on your exploration, Tales of Graces F emphasizes its shaky story at the expense of your feeling of discovery. You'll spend the majority of the game listening to poorly delivered conversations, and it seldom feels like time well spent. It gets better as you go, but it's defined by mediocrity as a whole.